Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into mindfulness. And I think we can all relate to feeling overwhelmed and disconnected sometimes, especially in today's world. Right.
It is. Yeah, yeah. And it's amazing though how mindfulness, it goes beyond just simple relaxation. It's about cultivating this deeper well-being, and that can really touch every part of us, mental state, physical health, and even our sense of spirit.
Oh, that's fascinating. So many people think, mindfulness is just sitting on a cushion and meditating. But it sounds like, are we talking about something much, much broader here?
Absolutely. You can almost think of mindfulness as a way of being fully present, like right here, right now, just without judgment. It's about noticing your thoughts, noticing your feelings without getting swept away by them. Almost like you're, watching the clouds drift by instead of getting caught in the storm.
I love that image. I can already see how that could be so helpful in stressful situations. But, beyond just feeling calmer, what are some of the more tangible benefits? Does mindfulness actually impact our physical health?
Oh, yeah, yeah. There's tons of research. Studies show that mindfulness can actually have a real impact on your heart health. We're talking like lower blood pressure, improved cardiovascular function. It's almost like a workout for your heart without having to hit the gym.
Okay, that's definitely getting my attention. You're telling me a heart workout just from being mindful. Tell me more about this.
There's even more. It can actually boost your immune system. So researchers have linked mindfulness to increased activity of T cells. Those are crucial for, fighting off infections. And even, get this, there's some evidence suggesting that it might even play a role in slowing down aging.
Wait, hold on. Slowing down aging, that's something everyone wants to know about. How is that even possible?
Well, it has to do with these things called telomeres. They're kind of like protective caps on the ends of our chromosomes. And, the longer the telomeres, the healthier and younger the cells are. So studies have shown a connection between long-term mindfulness and longer telomeres. It's almost like mindfulness is helping preserve our cells on a deeper level.
So mindfulness is like a cellular fountain of youth. I'm officially hooked. But I have to ask, how does simply paying attention to the present moment create like such profound effects on our body?
Well, think about, what happens when we're stressed, right? Our bodies, they go into that fight or flight mode, and then we release these hormones like cortisol. And over time, this chronic stress response, that can take a real toll. Mindfulness helps us actually regulate our response to stress. It gives our bodies a chance to actually rest and repair.
So it's like hitting the reset button on our stress response, allowing our body to function more efficiently.
Exactly. Yeah. And that reset can have a ripple effect, on everything from our cardiovascular health to our immune function.
Oh, okay, so we've talked about, the incredible benefits for the body. But what about our minds? Does mindfulness, make us, more mindful?
You can kind of think of it like mental training. Just like athletes train their bodies, mindfulness trains your mind to be more agile, more focused, and more resilient. It can actually even change the structure of your brain. It can boost activity in the areas responsible for focus and rational thought.
Oh, wow. So while it might not turn me into a chess grandmaster overnight, I could see how it would, help me concentrate better, maybe make smarter decisions. That's a win in my book.
Absolutely. And beyond the measurable cognitive benefits, mindfulness also cultivates a deeper sense of well-being and self-awareness. It can even help you connect to a greater sense of purpose and meaning, whether that's through spiritual practice, connecting with nature, or just appreciating the simple beauty of everyday moments.
It sounds like mindfulness isn't just about fixing what's wrong. It's more about, enhancing our lives on so many levels.
Yeah.
We're really starting to see the appeal. But I think a lot of people, myself included, might feel a bit intimidated by the idea of starting a mindfulness practice. Where do we even begin?
The great thing is you don't have to become a meditation master overnight. You can start small, You can incorporate tiny mindful moments throughout your day. It's more about shifting your perspective rather than adding another item to your already overflowing to-do list.
I like the sound of that. Give us some examples. What are some simple ways we could begin to be more mindful, right now?
One of the simplest and most effective techniques is mindful breathing. Just take a few moments to just focus on your breath. Notice the sensation of the air as it enters and leaves your body. It's almost like an instant reset button for your nervous system.
That is so simple yet so powerful. I could see how just, taking a few conscious breaths could make a big difference, especially during those moments where we feel completely overwhelmed.
Exactly. And as you become more comfortable with mindful breathing, you can start to explore other practices, like maybe the body scan. It's a great way to release tension and just get more in tune with your physical sensations.
I've heard of body scans before, but I'm not quite sure what they, entail. Can you walk us through it?
Sure. It's almost like you're taking an inner journey through your body. You simply bring your attention to each part of your body, starting with your toes and slowly moving upwards. Just noticing any sensations without judgment. You might feel a warmth, tingling, pressure, or even just a sense of spaciousness.
That sounds incredibly relaxing. I'm already feeling calmer just thinking about it. But what about during the day, when we're busy and on the go? Are there any mindfulness practices we can do without having to stop everything?
Oh, absolutely. Even something as simple as sipping a warm drink, that can become a mindfulness exercise. Instead of just gulping it down mindlessly, try slowing down, savoring each sip. Notice the warmth of the mug in your hands, the aroma of the tea or coffee, the taste as it touches your tongue. It can all be very mindful.
Oh, wow. It's amazing how we can find those opportunities for mindfulness, even in the simplest things. It's just about shifting our perspective and bringing awareness to those everyday moments that we usually just, go through on autopilot.
Precisely. It's about transforming those ordinary moments into opportunities for presence and connection.
So it's not about adding more to our plates. It's about bringing a new awareness to, what we're already doing. I love that.
Exactly. And the more you practice, the more you'll just start to notice these mindful moments naturally arising throughout your day.
This has been so insightful. I'm really starting to see mindfulness in a whole new light. It's not just about meditation. It's about integrating awareness into every aspect of our lives.
Exactly. It's about cultivating a way of being that enhances our well-being on every level.
Okay, so we've talked about, simple practices like mindful breathing, body scans, and even, mindful sipping. But I'm curious, how can we create a more intentional mindfulness practice? Is there a way to structure my mindfulness journey?
Well, one of the most powerful ways to deepen your mindfulness practice is by creating a mindful morning routine. You know how you start your day really sets the tone for everything that follows.
That makes a lot of sense. But what does a mindful morning routine actually, look like? What are some things we can actually do to start our day with intention?
Well, instead of reaching for your phone first thing in the morning, try starting your day with maybe a few mindful breaths or a simple gratitude practice.
So before we dive into the digital world, we can take a moment to just connect with ourselves and really appreciate the good things in our lives.
Precisely. And then, as you become more comfortable with this, you can incorporate other practices into your morning routine, maybe like journaling or setting intentions for the day.
Journaling. I haven't kept a journal since I was a teenager. Is there a specific way to journal for mindfulness?
It doesn't have to be anything, fancy. It's simply about creating a space to just explore your thoughts and feelings without judgment. You can write about your dreams, your goals, your challenges, or simply just what you're grateful for. It's a powerful way to cultivate self-awareness and gain more clarity.
So it's less about perfect grammar and more about creating a dialogue with ourselves.
Exactly. It's about tuning in to your inner voice and listening with compassion and curiosity.
Oh, okay. Mindful breathing, body scans, savoring a warm drink, creating a mindful morning routine, and journaling. Those are some great, starting points. What else can we do to enhance our mindfulness practice?
Another powerful tool is affirmations.
Affirmations, you mean like those positive self-statements? I've always been a bit skeptical of those. Do they actually work?
Well, think of affirmations as positive seeds that you're planting in the garden of your mind. By repeating these phrases, you're essentially rewiring your brain for more positivity and self-compassion.
Okay. I'm starting to see how they, could be helpful. But how do we choose the right affirmations? And how often should we be repeating them?
And the best affirmations are the ones that, resonate with you personally and address specific areas that you want to work on. Maybe you want to cultivate more confidence, patience, self-love. So choose phrases that feel, empowering and uplifting. And as for repetition, consistency is key. So try repeating your affirmations every morning, every evening, or even throughout the day whenever you need a little boost.
So it's about intentionally choosing phrases that align with our goals and values and repeating them consistently to create those positive changes in our thinking.
Exactly. It's about actively shaping our inner dialogue and creating a more positive and supportive inner landscape.
This has been so eye-opening. It feels like, we've just scratched the surface of what mindfulness is and and what it can actually do for us.
We've only just begun to explore the vast and fascinating world of mindfulness.
I'm so excited. So where do we go from here? How can we continue to deepen our understanding and practice?
Well, one path is to explore the connection between mindfulness and meditation.
I was hoping we'd get to meditation. It seems like that's what most people, think of when they hear the word mindfulness.
Well, while meditation is a very powerful tool for cultivating mindfulness, it's important to remember that mindfulness is, that broader concept, and meditation is one way to practice it.
So meditation is like a doorway into the world of mindfulness.
Yeah, you could say that. Meditation provides a very structured framework for training your attention and becoming more present.
Okay, I'm ready to walk through that doorway. Can you guide us through like a simple meditation that even, a beginner like me to try?
Absolutely. So let's begin by finding a comfortable seated position. You can sit on a cushion, a chair, or even lie down. Just make sure you're comfortable and your mind is straight.
What about the lighting? Should it be bright or dim?
Adjust the lighting to whatever, feels most relaxing for you. You might want to dim the lights or light a candle to create a more calming ambience.
Okay, I've got my cozy spot set up. What do I do next?
Close your eyes gently and bring your attention to your breath. Just notice the natural rhythm of your inhales and your exhales. You don't need to change your breath in any way. Just observe it.
What about all those thoughts that, inevitably pop up? My mind never seems to slow down.
Oh, that's perfectly normal. The key is to simply notice those thoughts without judgment. Just acknowledge them and then gently guide your attention back to your breath.
So it's not about emptying our minds, but rather about learning to observe our thoughts without getting carried away by them.
Exactly. It's like watching leaves float down a stream. You simply observe them as they pass by without getting attached to any particular leaf.
I love that analogy. It makes meditation seem a lot, less daunting.
Meditation is a practice of returning again and again to the present moment.
Okay, I'm starting to get a feel for it. How long should we, meditate for?
Even just a few minutes can make a difference. Start with maybe 5 minutes and gradually increase the duration as you feel more comfortable.
This has been such a helpful introduction to meditation. I'm feeling more relaxed and centered already.
It's wonderful to hear. Remember, meditation is a practice, and like any skill, it just takes time and patience to develop.
I'm definitely feeling inspired to explore this further. But before we, wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious, why is it so important to view mindfulness holistically? Considering the mind, body, and spirit together.
Well, it's interesting how we often compartmentalize these aspects of ourselves. We treat them as separate entities, but in reality, they're all deeply interconnected. Our thoughts influence our emotions impact our physical sensations, and our spiritual beliefs shape our perceptions of the world.
So it's like a three-legged stool. If one leg is weak, the whole structure becomes unstable?
Precisely. Holistic mindfulness recognizes this interconnectedness and encourages us to nurture, all aspects of ourselves.
Okay, I'm sold on the concept. But how do we actually practice holistic mindfulness?
Well, there are countless ways, but one powerful approach is to incorporate all three elements, body, mind, and spirit, into each mindfulness practice. So, for example, when you're engaging in a mindful breathing exercise, you can pay attention to the physical sensations of your breath, your body, and notice any thoughts or emotions that arise, that's the mind, and connect to a sense of gratitude or peace, the spirit.
So it's about weaving these elements together rather than compartmentalizing them.
Exactly. And while some practices might naturally lean more toward one aspect, it's important to strive for balance in our overall approach. So for example, if you enjoy a vigorous workout, you might balance it out with, some quiet time for journaling to nurture your mind and spirit.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about creating a symphony of well-being, incorporating practices that address, all aspects of ourselves.
Absolutely. And as you continue to explore holistic mindfulness, you'll just discover countless ways to create this tapestry of presence, awareness, and well-being in your life. It's interesting, we often associate mindfulness with this sense of peace and tranquility, but it can also be incredibly helpful in navigating those chaotic times in life.
Oh, that's so true. Life is full of those unexpected twists and turns, and it's easy to feel so overwhelmed when things, get chaotic. So how can mindfulness help us, stay grounded when it feels like everything around us is spinning out of control?
Well, mindfulness can act like an anchor in the storm. When we're mindful, we're more aware of our thoughts, our feelings, and our reactions, even when those reactions are really intense. So instead of getting swept away by the chaos, we can actually create a space between the stimulus and our response.
So it's like we can hit the pause button in the middle of all the chaos.
Exactly. Yeah, that pause, that space between stimulus and response, that's where our true power lies, you know? It's where we can choose how we want to respond instead of just reacting out of habit or fear.
That's so empowering. But how do we actually, like, do that? How do we hit that pause button when, everything inside us is screaming to react?
Well, it takes practice, but the more we cultivate mindfulness in our daily lives, the easier it becomes to access that pause button when we need it most.
So it's like we're building a muscle. The more we exercise our mindfulness muscles, the stronger they become.
Precisely. And even if we don't always, succeed in hitting the pause button perfectly, every attempt strengthens our ability to respond with more awareness and intention.
Okay, so let's say, we're in the midst of a chaotic situation and we manage to hit that pause button. What do we do with that pause? How do we actually use it to navigate the chaos more skillfully?
Well, there are a few key things we can do with that pause. First, we can recognize our feelings. Second, we can connect to our rationality. And finally, we can respond with compassion.
Okay, I like that. Let's unpack those one by one, starting with that recognizing our feelings.
Sure. So, when chaos hits, our emotions, they can run really high. We might feel fear, anger, sadness, overwhelm, or even a whole mix of emotions. And mindfulness, that helps us to identify those feelings without judgment.
So instead of suppressing, or denying our emotions, we acknowledge them, like with curiosity and compassion.
Exactly. It's about saying, okay, I'm feeling really anxious right now. What's going on? Simply naming our emotions can help us take some of the power away from them.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. Once we've recognized our feelings, what's the next step?
Connect it to our rationality. So, when we're overwhelmed by emotions, it's easy to let our thoughts just like spiral out of control. But mindfulness helps us step back from those thoughts and actually reconnect with our rational minds.
Okay. So we can ask ourselves questions like, is this thought helpful? Is it, based in reality? What's the most helpful way to approach this situation?
Exactly. It's about engaging the part of our brain that's responsible for reasoning and decision making, rather than letting our, fear center hijack our responses.
So mindfulness helps us move from, reacting from a place of fear to responding from a place of thoughtful consideration.
Exactly. And finally, we can use that pause to respond with compassion.
Tell me more about responding with compassion, both towards ourselves and others.
Yeah, so when chaos hits, it's easy to be really harsh on ourselves and others. We might criticize ourselves for not handling things better, or we might even lash out at those around us. But mindfulness helps us cultivate compassion, both for ourselves and others, recognizing that we're all doing the best we can in those difficult circumstances.
So instead of adding fuel to the fire with self-criticism or blame, we could offer ourselves and others understanding and kindness.
Exactly. Compassion is a powerful antidote to chaos. It helps us navigate those difficult situations with more grace, resilience, and even humor.
I love that. Okay, this has been incredibly helpful. So to recap, mindfulness helps us navigate chaos by recognizing our feelings, connecting to our rationality, and responding with compassion.
Exactly. And the more we practice these skills in our daily lives, the more readily available they'll be when the storms, inevitably hit.
So mindfulness is not just about finding peace and tranquility. It's also about building our inner strength and resilience so that we can weather life's inevitable storms with more grace and ease.
Precisely. It's about cultivating the inner resources we need to face those challenges with courage, wisdom, and compassion.
Okay, we've explored how mindfulness helps us deal with those really chaotic moments, but I'm curious to hear more about your thoughts on holistic mindfulness, integrating the body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah. It's fascinating how often we compartmentalize these aspects of ourselves. We treat them as, separate entities. But in reality, they're deeply interconnected. Our thoughts, they influence our emotions impact our physical sensations, and our spiritual beliefs, they actually shape our perceptions of the world.
So it's like a three-legged stool. If one leg is weak, the whole structure becomes unstable.
Exactly. Holistic mindfulness recognizes this interconnectedness, and it encourages us to nurture all aspects of ourselves.
Okay, I'm sold on the concept. But how do we actually practice holistic mindfulness?
Well, there are countless ways, but one powerful approach is to incorporate all three elements, the body, the mind, and the spirit, into each mindfulness practice. So, for instance, during a mindful breathing exercise, we can pay attention to the physical sensations of our breath. That's the body. And notice any thoughts or emotions that might arise. That's the mind. and connect to the sense of gratitude or peace. That's the spirit.
So it's about weaving those elements together rather than, compartmentalizing them.
Exactly. And while some practices might naturally lean more towards one aspect, it's important to strive for that balance in our overall approach. So for instance, if you enjoy a vigorous yoga practice, something that focuses more on the physical body, you might balance it out with maybe some quiet time for reflection or journaling to nurture your mind and spirit.
That makes sense. So it's not about rigidly adhering to one type of practice, but rather finding a balance that works for you.
Exactly. Mindfulness is a journey, not a destination.
Ah, I love that. So it's about finding what resonates with us and incorporating it into our lives in a way that feels, authentic and sustainable.
Absolutely. And as you continue on this path, you'll discover countless ways to weave mindfulness into your daily life, creating a tapestry of presence, awareness, and well-being.
Okay, so we've talked about the benefits of holistic mindfulness, but what are some specific practices that can actually help us integrate the body, the mind, and the spirit?
Well, one powerful practice is yoga. It beautifully blends physical movement with mindful breathing, and it often incorporates elements of, philosophy and spirituality.
Yoga seems like such a natural fit for holistic mindfulness. What are some other practices, we can explore?
Another great option is mindful walking. Instead of just rushing from point A to point B, we can actually turn a simple walk into a meditation just by paying attention to the sensations of our feet on the ground, the rhythm of our breath, and the sights, sounds, and smells all around us.
Oh, that sounds so grounding. What about practices that, focus more on the mind and spirit?
Journaling is a wonderful way to explore our inner landscape. We can use it to process emotions, examine our thoughts and beliefs, and connect with our deeper values and aspirations.
And what about, connecting with nature? I've always found spending time in nature to be incredibly restorative.
Oh, nature is such a powerful ally in our mindfulness journey. Spending time in nature, it engages our senses, it calms our minds, and it just reminds us of our connection to something larger than ourselves.
So whether it's through yoga, mindful walking, journaling, or simply just, being present in nature, there are countless ways to cultivate holistic mindfulness.
Exactly. And the more we integrate these practices into our lives, the more we'll experience those profound benefits of living in alignment with our whole selves.
Okay. Before we, wrap up, I'm curious, what are some of the challenges that people might, encounter when they first start exploring mindfulness? And how can they overcome those challenges?
Well, one common challenge is, the misconception that mindfulness is about emptying the mind, like stopping all thoughts.
I've definitely heard that before, but it seems like that would be, impossible, right?
Oh, absolutely. Our minds are designed to think. It's what they do. The goal of mindfulness isn't to stop thinking, but rather to become aware of our thoughts without getting, carried away by them.
So it's about learning to observe our thoughts with a sense of detachment rather than, getting all entangled in them.
Exactly. It's like watching traffic go by. We don't need to jump into every car that passes. We can simply observe the flow.
That's such a great analogy. What are some other challenges people might face?
Another challenge is impatience. We live in a culture that really values speed and efficiency, so it can be difficult to slow down and just be present.
Oh, it's true. We're constantly bombarded with stimuli, and it's so easy to get, caught up in the whirlwind.
Absolutely. But the irony is, by slowing down and being present, we actually become more efficient and productive in the long run.
How so?
When we're mindful, we're less likely to make, careless mistakes. We're more focused on the task at hand, and we're better able to manage our time and energy.
So mindfulness is not about doing less. It's about doing things with more intention and awareness.
Exactly. And as we cultivate patience in our practice, we'll find that it actually spills over into other areas of our lives.
Oh, wow. This has been so insightful. It's clear that mindfulness is not like a quick fix, but rather a lifelong journey of self-discovery and growth.
Absolutely. And the rewards are well worth the effort.
All right. So as we, wrap up this deep dive into mindfulness, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought. How can we cultivate more acceptance in our lives, both of ourselves and others?
Oh, that's a beautiful question, and one that really lies at the heart of mindfulness. Cultivating acceptance that begins with recognizing that we're all, perfectly imperfect.
So instead of, striving for some unattainable ideal of perfection, We can like embrace our flaws and imperfections as part of what makes us, unique and human.
Exactly. And that same acceptance can extend to others. We can learn to appreciate the diversity of human experience and recognize that everyone is on their own unique journey.
So acceptance is not about, condoning harmful behavior or lowering our standards. It's more about recognizing the reality of who we are and who others are with all our, strengths and weaknesses.
Precisely. And when we approach ourselves and others with this kind of acceptance, we create a foundation for compassion, understanding, and genuine connection.
It's remarkable how mindfulness can like shift our perspective, from judgment to curiosity, from fear to acceptance. It's almost like putting on a new pair of glasses that allows us to see the world with like fresh eyes.
I love that analogy.
So as we, wrap up this deep dive into mindfulness, what's one key takeaway you hope our listeners will remember?
Well, if there's one thing I want to emphasize, it's that mindfulness is not a destination. It's a journey. It's a practice, a way of being that unfolds moment by moment.
So it's not about like achieving some perfect state of mindfulness, but rather about cultivating this ongoing awareness of the present moment.
Exactly. And that awareness is always available to us no matter what's happening in our lives. We can choose to bring mindfulness to our work, to our relationships, to our hobbies, even to, the most mundane tasks.
So it's about like infusing our lives with presence, moment by moment.
Absolutely. And the more we practice, the more natural it becomes. It's like, learning to ride a bike. At first, it takes effort and concentration, but eventually it just becomes effortless.
That's a great analogy. So even if we like stumble or fall off the mindfulness bike, we can always get back on and keep practicing.
Exactly. And with practice, we'll find that the ride becomes, smoother and more enjoyable.
Oh, this has been an incredible deep dive into mindfulness. We've covered so much ground, from the science behind it, to the practical benefits, to the transformative power it holds for our lives. But before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one final invitation. What's one small act of mindfulness they can, commit to today?
Maybe it's taking a few mindful breaths before you start your workday, or savoring your lunch without distractions, or simply noticing the beauty of the sunset tonight.
Remember, mindfulness is not about adding another task to your to-do list. It's about bringing awareness to the moments that are already unfolding in your life.
And as you cultivate this awareness, you'll discover a deeper sense of peace, joy, and connection to yourself and the world around you.
This has been such a fascinating exploration of mindfulness. I feel like I gained so much valuable insight and practical tools to bring more presence and peace into my own life. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's been a pleasure diving into this topic with you. And remember, the journey of mindfulness is always unfolding, one breath, one step, one moment at a time.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into a fascinating topic.